First of all, greetings to everyone. And also like to wish series of Happy New Year. I think one is about to come. When this teaching was requested, originally I thought of talking about the Vipassana. What else? That's the one thing that is being taught over and over. And also it is probably one of the unique technique, unique to Buddhism, I mean. I guess part of me also wants to do this because there's all kinds of mindfulness exercise that is mushrooming up from all parts of the world. And as a Buddhist, I have this concern that the very idea and the essence of Vipassana could get lost in trying to make it accessible. Sometimes we pour too much water and then we lose the essential taste. Then I added the sadhana just as probably it's a bit of a teasing, because sadhana is a very Mahayana. In fact, it's a very tantric term. The term sadhana, I think, is used both by Buddhist Tantra, and also it is very much found in the Hindu Tantra. I decided to tie this up together because the quintessence, sort of the core if you like, backbone or the blood or the element of sadhana is none other than Vipassana. Although many times, because the nature of the sadhana, especially at times, appear to be very religious, involving ceremonies, involving things like simple mundane things like offering flowers, incense, or even sitting on a dead body and meditating days and nights. And so the sadhana can and has appeared as a ritual. And sometimes that, because of that, the essential point of the sadhana, especially in Buddhism, the Vipassana, gets lost. So this is why I sort of just want to tease ourselves and remind ourselves that sadhana and the Vipassana really has to come together. So hopefully we can come to this later. But let us first talk about the Vipassana. Vipassana is really, really vast. It's infinite. Of course, now it is sort of coming down to this Buddhist practice of sitting straight. Being mindful of, I don't know, environment, surroundings, breath, and then some more advanced level of technique. So for a lot of the people, I think Vipassana is something to do with meditation, as in sitting. And I think this is depriving the whole world of Vipassana. So hopefully, hopefully this time we can sort of open our eyes, open our mind, and approach Vipassana in a much more sort of abundant and infinite way. As the word Vipassana indicates, it is something to do with seeing, having the insight. Let me try to explain this in a more mundane, day-to-day level. This is what the Buddhists think. In our day-to-day life, when we interact with our life, usually we always have one or two narrow angle. We just never have a bird's eye view. So in this case, in this sense, you are always having a very distorted, partial, biased, with a lot of prejudice. You don't have the full picture. In many ways, you can actually, to make us understand the Vipassana, depth of Vipassana, I think we could translate the Vipassana as a technique to see the world and our life, but full picture, not just partially. Full picture. Also, the idea of Vipassana has something to do with direct experience. Usually when we interact with life, and I'm talking about every aspect of life, let's say the most important part of our life, what is it? It's me, self, I. When we interact with me, like this man or whoever, we interact using all kinds of rational thinking, logic, rational, probably science, and of course, a bit of an empirical or experience. So when we look at ourselves through reason, through logic, through, through language, through culture, we are never really experiencing ourselves directly. So for instance, like, I'm a man. This gender, man. the decision, conclusion that I'm a man has come, I've come to this conclusion that I'm a man based on all kinds of reasons, such as the consensus says so. Others think that I'm a man. My parents raised me as a man. And then biologically, I'm a man. So, there is never a direct experience. So Vipassana also, if you want to translate Vipassana in another way, it is also, you can translate this as a technique to experience life directly. Okay, so Vipassana, how to view life, not just life, everything. How to view things with full picture, not just partial picture, or how to look at life directly without using any kinds of references. This is probably one good way to understand what Vipassana is. And I think if we can build that foundation, Vipassana is not just watching, breathing in and out. Vipassana is so much. It's really, really, it's even more than a science. It's a direct experience. Now, with that in mind, since part of our conversation is about sadhana. Sadhana basically means it's a skill, it's a technique, it is a trick, actually. It's a trick, it's a technique, it's a means to, there's usually a goal. Sadhana always has a goal. So the sadhana is a systematic means to achieve whatever the goal. So in the Vipassana context, the goal is to have a direct experience, full picture. Okay, even me looking at this flower that is in front of me, am I really having a direct experience with this flower? Why I even consider this as a flower? See, I have a cultural, I've been taught that this is a flower. And then I don't even know the name of this flower. Then, this is a pink flower. So on and so forth. So I don't have the direct experience. There's already a prejudice. There's already my view of this flower comes through lots of, filter, lots of interference. So if we are looking at this, looking at the Vipassana as with this definition, then actually, what do we mean by practicing Vipassana? Vipassana or sadhana, right? So what do we mean by practicing Vipassana? That could mean a lot of things. That could mean even discussing about Vipassana as it is happening right now between you and me. We are talking about real picture the full picture. We are questioning. Are we seeing things just partially? Are we seeing things through distorted, already conditioned mind? We are already questioning this. This kind of analysis, this kind of critical thinking, you could actually say that this is already a Vipassana practice in progress. In fact, many sutras and the shastras, especially the great scholars, have explained this. But I just want to tell you this because nowadays, a lot of people, when they say, I'm practicing Vipassana, it's usually something to do with the sitting, something to do with like sitting straight and watching breathing or your sensation of your body and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that this is not correct. It is correct. It is very much that, but it is also much more than that. In fact, even longing to see the truth, longing to see the full picture of life is already sort of, you could almost say, is the beginning of practice or the sadhana of the Vipassana, longing to have the full picture. Now, who doesn't want to have the full picture? Everybody does. But, in one way, now this is the schizophrenia aspect of us human beings. There's a part of us, we like to have the full picture. There's a part of us, we want to control everything, especially control our own surrounding, others, if you can. There's a part of us who don't want to be left out, missing out. There's a part of us that wants to, I don't know, have the direct experience. From a small child all the way to the adults, we have that. In fact, most of our insecurity, most of our anxiety comes from this not knowing whether I have the full picture or not. Do I have the full picture of our life? Do I have the full picture of myself? Do I have the full picture of this flower? Whatever. And I mean, more importantly, do I have the full picture of some sort of a discursive thought that is happening right this very moment? Now, that is the highest level of thinking, isn't it? That should be considered as a, quest or the path or the sadhana of Vipassana. Okay, now Vipassana has a lot of challenge. There's a big challenge here. And the challenge is the opposite of Vipassana. Vipassana, seeing the truth, seeing the real deal, seeing things as what they are. Challenge for that is this habit, this habitual pattern that we have, which is just feeling comfortable and being cozy with seeing not the real thing. This is a problem, and this is a really, really big problem. We are comfortable. We don't want to dig too much. Vipassana is really like a digging machine. You dig and dig, and then when you see the whole picture, we have developed this habit of not wanting to see the whole picture. We are too afraid to see the whole picture. We are kind of happy to see sort of one side. That's how the world works. So if you are looking at our sort of human society, education system, political system, I don't know, everything, business, fashion, food, it's all about sufficing with partial truth. The partial truth, somehow we have developed this sort of feeling comfortable with this zone of partial truth. And this is a challenge. This is a challenge for the Vipassana practitioner. But you see, the partial, living life, looking at a partial truth, never really pays off. At the end, because you have been looking at a partial truth, it always leads us to some sort of a disappointment. It always leads us to some sort of anxiety. And then we try to see the real truth. But then the old habit of wanting to go to the, camouflage zone, the comfortable zone, the comfort zone. Now that is strong. So this is a Vipassana's biggest challenge. And what it does is it makes you see this zone, this comfort zone makes you not, okay, so this comfort zone makes your mind rigid. This comfort zone makes your mind not malleable. This comfort zone actually makes your mind out of control, basically. So this is why when we talk about a Vipassana, many great masters from all the tradition, Theravada, Mahayana, and the Vajrayana, talks about shamatha, which is basically to make the mind malleable, make the mind workable, to sort of battle with this, constant falling to this comfort zone. We apply the shamatha technique. Now, that is probably what a lot of people nowadays may be doing. And then they think that this is a Vipassana. This is possible. I mean, I cannot really discourage doing that. But at one point, it is important that we realize that a shamatha is really meant to make your mind workable, malleable, so that you will be in control. In other words, you will not fall into that comfort zone that I was talking, so that you are longing to see the truth, that you are longing to see the full picture. You are longing to have the direct experience gets unwavered, unfaltered, and uncorrupted. So this is why the shamatha and the Vipassana are always sort of complementary. Okay, so this is just a sort of an overall, how should I say, summary of so-called Vipassana along with the sadhana. But since I'm assuming that there are a lot of participants today here around the world who are also for the first time probably, or maybe new to this whole Buddhist, I don't know, path in general, and especially Vipassana. I'm now going to talk about the Vipassana, and I'll try to sort of use less traditional jargon and try to, what do you call it, connect this with our day-to-day life, so to speak. Be it, you know, whether you are a monk or a nun, or whether you are a householder, or whether you are children, teenagers, how and why Vipassana and the Shamatha is relevant to you as a human being, and how you relate, how this could help relating to the world. Okay. Now, so what do we have in so-called life? Job, family, relationship, security, fun, very important. Long-term planning, management, managing one's own life, managing, I don't know, family, managing your own, I don't know, life ahead. So this is, I guess, this is what we have as life. And there is not much chance for us to think about these things originally without the influence of others. That's almost non-existent. If you are a kid, if you're a teenager, there's probably your parents hovering around you, breathing down on your neck. Well, if you don't have parents, there's your peers, your friends and, schoolmates, and you will want to be part of them. You'll want to fit in. I don't know, get invited to their circle, parties, And it's very complicated. You want to be special, I guess. And you want to be unique. But at the same time, you don't want too much attention from people. It's really complicated. Because if there's too much attention, you feel suffocated. But then if you're too unique, you get alienated because you're too unique and you are too, I don't know, strange, they will think. And because of that, you get alienated. Then probably you will suffer with the loneliness. And then with all the things that's happening with, social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. I don't even know these things so much, but when I was growing up, I have a challenge to fit in with a real human friends. Nowadays, most of the kids, you have to fit in with the friends that you have never met and you probably will never meet. And all they have to do is a thumbs down, and then you will go depressed for days and days. And this is the life that you have, we have. And I don't think it's going to get better. I don't know, maybe it is already good. I don't want to judge that this is bad. But I also don't also see that these are very good, because there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress. And then the world is designed, the whole world is designed based on this idea of competition, the winner, the loser, who gets the most marks, who wins the best prize, I don't know, acknowledgement, endorsement. So that's there. This is there now. Now, if you buy into all this, then you will be not having vipassana, which means, remember, vipassana in Sanskrit means seeing the whole picture, or seeing the truth, or seeing directly. When you see your world through TikTok, through Instagram, through fashion, through family, I don't know, endorsement, through, I don't know, marks in the school, then you are not looking at the life directly. You are looking at your life through a lot of distorted lens, and through the lens that is not even sort of belong to you, through the lens that is designed by others. So, yes, as I was saying earlier, a lot of us, we want to be very unique, we want to be independent, which is, this is another thing, independent, want to be independent, quest for independent, wanting to be independent. How much of that is a vipassana? See, we want to be independent, but everything we do is just the opposite. Everything we do actually makes us so dependent. Used to be, we do things quite, things that makes us dependent. It used to take time, but nowadays, within a second, within a moment, you make yourself dependent. So basically, as many scientists seem to be saying, that our mind has been hacked. We are very much hackable. You know, all the basically so many companies, so many tech giants, they know what I buy, what I read, what I watch. And they have already curated and sent me messages, news bulletins, carefully crafted and curated for me. And I totally fall, even though I know that this has been curated for me. This is how should I say, this is how we lose the insight. We then lose insight, we lose the true nature of reality. We we have a partial picture of our life. But as I said earlier, how much enthusiasm or how much zest do you have to go out of that comfort zone? How much courage do you have to really not care, or at least care less about what others think? How much ratings you gain, how much thumbs up you get. This is what you need to contemplate. And contemplation of that is what in Sanskrit called bhavana, which means mind training. And this is very relevant, so relevant for those who wish to just have a life, those who are parenting, those who are managing, those who are having a relationship, those who are, I don't know, those who wish to communicate with others. In every aspect of our life, we need Vipassana. So in the classic Buddhist, what do you call it, category of Vipassana, we talk about three characteristics, especially in the Theravada tradition. Impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the selflessness or no self. So impermanence, again, this can be applied very much when you are going through your life. As a teenager, as parents, as, I don't know, as someone who has, who have business to run, or job to sort of look after, or family. Looking at our life with a bigger picture, with a bigger picture of impermanence. It doesn't have to be. Again, the word impermanence may sometimes indicate something negative or something unpleasant, but it doesn't have to be. For instance, like you could be going through hardest of the time in your life, but because, and when you have the hard time, when you are going through a rough time right now, because you don't have the, you have the habit of looking at the life partially, a small amount of rough time can discourage you, throw you off, make you lose your hope, make you lose your direction. And it doesn't have to be. If you can develop the Vipassana, in other words, if you can look at the life with a bird's eye view, how many times in our life unpleasant thing has happened, but we have always somehow managed to walk out of it. Things, how many times we have in our life, things have improved. How many times, good news, good things has happened in our life. Of course, there's a tendency that we don't appreciate things, good things, and we tend to hang on or cling on to things that are unpleasant. But if you can look at our life with the bird's eye view of just the anicca, impermanence, really, it can give you so much confidence on managing this life. Just seeing that truth, the truth of anicca, truth of impermanence. So much confidence and courage, so much, and also visionary, and also not giving up. But of course, as I keep on repeating, these things need to be, you need to get accustomed. You need to be accustomed to this kind of thinking. And this is where the sadhana, a technique to get used to this truth, get used to this discipline. Keep this discipline during the bad times, good times, so that the technique become you and you become technique. So that when the calamities hit you, you apply this knowledge, this wisdom, this mindfulness, this picture, the full picture immediately. That bhavana, or the mind training, is necessary. And of course, Now, just to go back a little bit on the more sort of on the traditional approach, you know, a sadhana such as sitting straight, watching the breath in and out, or sadhana or the practice technique of going to temples. And actually, if we go to temple, for instance, with a flower in the hand, incense, and with the motivation of wanting to see the truth, wanting to have the full picture of our life, wanting to not just stuck with a partial view of life. Visit to the temple can be considered as a practice of vipassana. In this case, the visit to a temple or a bodhi tree or a stupa is a sadhana. It has become a sadhana. Of course, you know, in a traditional Buddhist societies, farmers go to temple, Buddha's temple for some other, you know, with other, you know, like for the protection, for the, you know, rain, for good harvest, for good business, for longevity, for, I don't know, for protection from sickness and so on and so forth. But, you know, those are also not discouraged in the Buddhist sutras and the shastras, because that is one skillful way of gradually leading people to the higher liberation. And the higher liberation is achieved through having the full picture. When we have the full picture, this is called liberation. When you see everything when you see things from every angle, when you know it's sort of the beginning, its end, its middle, its whole direction, you know the function, the nature, the impact of this particular thing. Whether you will continue with this thing or not is absolutely up to you, but you will not be bound by this. And this is called liberation. So in this sense, Vipassana, when you have the full maturity of this Vipassana, this is Nirvana or liberation. So you can see that the Buddhist idea of liberation is really not far off, as sometimes we are made to think that this is something that will take like forever. Maybe we'll take a short break